post-game commentary on the match between myself and Zeroth. This is the first round out of 3, with me playing as the Orcs against Zeroth's Empire. As for setup, I went with a front line of Borbo, of Biggins. I got a few Boar Boys, but they're in the back. A few Arrow Boys, 2 Doom Divers, and a single Boar Chariot, which has I've seen it do a bit of work this time, and I was hoping it would be able to do some work against any eventual Empire front line. Meanwhile, I got my War Boss up on Wyvern with a healing potion, who is probably still gonna be in trouble against the Empire setup here, where we got Karl Franz on Deathclaw, pretty standard stuff. Ember Wizard on his Hippogriff with absolutely massive charge bonus matching Karl Franz himself. Seriously, if you guys haven't tried to charge in an Ember Wizard, they are freaking terrifying. In addition, he's got a squadron of Reichsguard here on the side. His flanks are protected by Spearmen with a core of 3 Greatswords in the middle, and a single Great Cannon flanked by 2 crossbowmen. That out of the way, let's get started here. And one thing that's been mentioned in the thread is that right away Zeroth is using his Great Cannons in order to try and counter-snipe my Doomdiver catapults, which is generally the general consensus seems to be that it's a bit of a waste of their time. Whereas what I'm currently doing is trying to aim for his greatsword, since I identified those being the biggest problem, seeing how the Bingans are anti-large, but they do not have armor. They do not have very good armor piercing. So if I'm unable to deal some significant damage to the greatswords, they are gonna be a huge problem for me down the line. That said, though, I do believe in hindsight that I kind of panicked in regards to the Great Cannon just firing at will and start moving my line up, whereas I should probably have forced Zeroth to move towards me, since seeing how I had 2 artillery pieces to his singular one. Right off, though, he sends off his flying units over to the side, which is gonna force me to try and relocate a bit to try and counter any attempts at flanking. Since at this point I believe I was assuming he was gonna try and dive at my catapults, if I recall correctly. While the Boar Boys moving over to the same side with the Reichsguard, and I believe at this point, yeah, the Great Cannons have changed their targets, and they are currently going to be firing on the clumped up Boar Boys here, which is definitely a better call, and probably what actually causes this Reichsguard to arguably win that particular engagement when these 2 artillery forces clashes. I ended up pulling back 2 bigger units in response to these flying units, which essentially means that my core here of Biggins is severely outnumbered, which is of course a pretty significant problem. I do try and send in my chariot here, which, despite this not being a particularly great terrain for it, being slightly uphill, they are gonna be doing a pretty decent job at just crashing through these greatswords here, doing a pretty significant chunk of damage right away. And in order to try and avoid getting too tied up, although I kind of wonder if, well, no, with the Spearmen here it would probably have been a bad idea to keep engaging. I do end up trying to just ram them through and then go towards the artillery pieces. Meanwhile, Karl Franz and a summon Manticore, as well as the Ember Wizards, charge straight into my War Boss and do an extreme amount of damage in a very short time, pretty much making him ready to break right away. While the Reichsguard definitely get a much better charge off on my Boar Boys, who have taken significant damage from all the artillery fire, meaning that they are off to a pretty decent start in this particular setup, even though Boar Boys in a more fair one would probably be the ones winning. I do try at this point to have my Arrow Boys try and focus fire on the Ember Wizard, if I recall correctly, since he's the one with the least armor and hit points of all these flying units, but no less dangerous for it. And at the same time, I ordered the Doom Divers to start firing on the crossbowmen, since they probably wouldn't be able to hit the great swords anymore. Yeah, looking at the great swords, they have definitely put in a fair bit of work. The one that took the most damage from the catapults earlier has routed, but he's going to be returning to the battle very quickly. Meanwhile, I had to try and use my arrow boys to even the odds over here, since it's starting to get very close, but at this point the ball boys are going to be breaking before the second Reichsguard unit, and I pretty much have no units available right now to protect my archers, who are each of them having a very big and very angry flying thing messing with their aim. That does leave the Doom Divers unmolested for now, but again, they can pretty much all they can do is go for ranged units, where I already have had my chariot being busy, which I'm not quite sure was the right call. One of the great swords here is running, but this one in particular is still doing quite well for itself. With it's got a fair few men as well as health left, so it's gonna be a lot of trouble for this particular unit of Biggins, and the Night Goblin Shaman, who's engaged in melee combat, is of course not gonna be able to do much at all. Meanwhile, these arrow boys actually managed to more or less fend off the Amber Wizard in melee combat, which was rather surprising, but while the Amber Wizard does have an excellent charge, he really cannot stay in melee for very long, so that was a positive surprise, although I don't think it's gonna be mattering all that much, since the Manticore somewhat, and especially Karl Franz, are definitely the bigger issues in this particular battle. Meanwhile, I'm not quite sure where our war boss is, but I'm fairly sure he's about to die. Oh, right, he's over there. I'm not actually sure I managed to bring him back before he routes for other reasons. Chariot's been doing a bit of work. I got a bit of a glitch right now where I'm having a hard time. There we are, 118 kills on a chariot, which I'm fairly pleased about. Although, to be fair, those were mostly unprotected crossbowmen, but I do think if I had used it more on the great swords, this match might have turned out a bit different. There might have been more Biggins available. Well, I keep saying boar boys. The Doom Divers are doing pretty good work, but yeah, at this point the biggest issue I'm having right now is that while I've forced a lot of routes, most of them are coming back right now, and Karl Franz himself is pretty much at full health, with more or less no one who's actually going to be able to stand up to him. The war boss has fled the field, and there's pretty much no one who actually has any sort of armor piercing going on right now. I don't remember if I actually managed to down the Amber Wizard. I do believe he manages to get away here. Meanwhile, I'm just trying to desperately keep my Night Goblin away. Honestly, I should probably just have turned him around and kept him in melee combat for the arrow boys to fire on. At this point, I was pretty much just trying to buy as much time as I could. Yeah, at this point the match is just about to be over. The catapult crews are starting to break even, with no one actually being near them, with pretty much the only pockets of resistance going on being this Biggin unit, which was completely isolated against several crossbowmen and rallying units. And then there's this little pocket here of Biggins and the shaman, who's honestly not gonna be able to do all that much, especially on foot. And yeah, at this point I do believe that it's over. Karl Franz is coming in now once again, pretty much with full hit points. So that's yeah. Even if these units all started routing, I'm pretty sure at that point Karl Franz himself could probably have defeated my entire army single-handedly. So yeah, what would I have done differently? Well, one thing I'll definitely have to keep in mind while facing the Empire is that the great swords are pretty much gonna be a given, so bringing this many Biggins was probably a mistake. Instead, I should probably have downgraded a few of them to being regular orc boys, and then bringing one or two black orcs in instead. Alternatively, I could also, seeing how they probably shouldn't be in melee anyway, I could probably have gone with some goblin archers instead of the arrow boys, who are a fair bit cheaper. I was pretty okay, and well, and finally, of course, the I actually don't really know how to keep your war boss alive against the triple combo of a diving Karl Franz, Ember Wizard, and the Manticore. Flying, staying in the air is pretty much just get him tag teamed up there with no one to help him. So, and being on the ground in a melee just ends up turning into what we just saw here. So I guess it's pretty much just about maybe keeping him out of reach for as much as possible. Eventually, near any archers you have, so at least they'll have to take some fire while chasing the war boss around. Honestly, the big uns did okay, but I reckon most of those kills were probably against the regular spearmen, who are much cheaper. And yeah, even considering how much damage some of the greatswords took, they managed to get a fair few kills. And those kills, again, those are gonna be against big uns, who are so they definitely seemed like they had their money's worth. Not to mention that well, the Reichsguard and the Orc Boar Boys kind of ended up being on the same footing, with the Chariot doing some fairly good work, mostly killing crossbowmen, I believe. But I do think if I was a bit better at controlling it and trying to focus down the great swords, I might have had a more surviving Biggins, to the point where Karl Franz wouldn't be able to run wild as much as he did. Definitely should have also used the Night Goblin Shaman a fair bit better. I think I mostly used his buff spells, since I never had an opportunity to. I never felt like I had an opportunity to use the Curse of the Bad Moon, but I should probably use him more to to cast Vindictive Glares in order to try and take down the Ember Wizard and Karl Franz in particular next time. Anyway, a very good game to Zeroth, and hopefully I'll be seeing you guys for the other rounds of this particular matchup.